Hey there, welcome to the latest episode of Hiker Homily. Taking a little break from doing some yard work because that's going to be my main outdoor thing right now. Unlike some of the other Hiker Homilies that I've published lately, this one I'm filming when we're like right in the middle. It's right at the beginning of April, right in the middle of this whole COVID-19 pandemic. And so I am staying off the trails. I'm still getting out and walking almost every day, but it's mostly neighborhood walks. If I go through a park, it's one of the local parks nearby, because that's really the wisest thing to do it. I'm not going to get into the ridiculousness that's going on online with some people stamping their feet like children and saying, I will hike where I want to, and all that kind of crap. But yeah, I'm following the guidelines properly, staying within my neighborhood when I do get out and exercise, and I do get out almost daily, especially on this nice weather like this. So anyway, what we're really going to talk about in this episode of Hiker Homily are some of the kind of like myths and information that are out there generally for backpackers and hikers that we need to watch out for and things like that. So first myth and misinformation thing is your biggest threat to your food when you're backpacking is bears. And so a lot of people scoff at that and say, well, then I have no threat at all, because where I backpack, there's no bears. I backpack in the such and such desert all the time, or over here, we don't have any bears. There's no bears here, and things like that. I've been backpacking for a decent amount of time. Yeah, I took kind of a break during certain family and career times for a decade or two. But I backpacked a lot when I was younger. I'm backpacking a lot more now that I'm retired and things like that. And I got to tell you, the vast majority of the time, anything that's going after my food was small little critters. They are the biggest threat to getting at your food. And so just because you're hiking in a place that has no bears doesn't mean you can just leave your food out and everything's fine. Almost anything out there is going to try and get to your food and stuff like that. But some of the main issues you have to watch out for, especially out there, would be most rodents, mice and things like that. I've been on backpack trips even in the Sierras where, yeah, we've strung things up to try and keep it away from bears and stuff like that. But, we'll have a young person in the group or whatever just can't resist having a little snack in their tent and things like that. And we've had mice chew through sides of tents to get to wrappers because they smell the food. I was on a backpack trip with some friends, again in the Sierras. We heard a noise, and back then, in the early 80s, we used to just we'd get out our tents and our sleeping gear and the stuff that we were going to need for the night, and then we'd actually hang our backpacks up over a big limb of a tree. Instead of a bear bag or something like that, we just hang the pack up there and things like that. So we heard a noise out there and thought, oh, maybe a bear's trying to get to our backpacks. Open the tent up, shine a light on it, and no, it's two raccoons that had climbed up the tree, gotten onto the line, gotten onto the backpacks, and with those little opposable thumbs that those little trash pandas have, they had unzipped things, gotten a hold of stuff, and they were meticulously going through. They'd pull an item out of the backpack. If it didn't look like food, he'd chuck it over his shoulder. If it looked like food, he'd hand it up to the other raccoon that was sitting on top of the backpack. And then when we started moving around, they grabbed the stuff and they scurried away. Pretty amazing little dudes, but yeah, they are far more of a threat to getting into your camp and food. I mean, you even have to watch for things like certain birds. If you leave food out too long in your campsite, birds will swoop in, grab it, and take off with it if they can lift it and things like that. So it's not just bears when you're looking out there, and that's why I've said things before, like the bear canister I carry. Sometimes I'll carry it anyway just because, even if it's not required, even if there's not really known to be a lot of bears where I'm going, just because it's a good place, that it's not that heavy for especially shorter backpack trips, and it keeps all your food compact. It protects the food from getting crushed or squashed in the backpack and things like that, and it keeps everything out of it. And mice aren't going to get through that. Raccoons aren't going to get through it. So it works good for more than just bears. But yeah, bears aren't the biggest threat to your food when you're out there backpacking and things like that. The next big one is garlic repelling mosquitoes. You hear that all the time. Oh, I eat garlic to get it into my bloodstream and blah, blah, blah. Some people actually rub garlic on themselves because the smell will put the mosquitoes off. And you know what? Mosquitoes don't really go by smell. For those of you who don't know, it's the female mosquito that does the biting. In fact, sometimes males and females will work in tandem. You'll hear the little buzzing by your ear and you'll swat at it. That's usually the male distracting you, and while the male is distracting you, the female is moving in and is trying to go for a bite on the other side and things like that. But the females are the only ones who actually bite and draw blood and things like that. And what they key in on is body heat and CO2 emissions. Okay, so a hiker who's out there just bringing his core temperature up, hiking, sweating a lot, breathing heavily, that's going to be a dinner call for mosquitoes. And it doesn't matter how much garlic you eat or have rubbed on you, they're not going to care. They are keying in on your body heat and on your CO2 emissions, and that's what's attracting them. So the best thing for mosquitoes is again, if you can get pemberton in a small concentration like they sell into your clothing, that'll help. DEET can help, and there are some natural ways to do them, but I'm sorry, but garlic isn't it. Not garlic. Number 3, things like dead or dormant poison ivy, like in the wintertime, are totally safe. It's the leaves that are dangerous. Totally false. The entire plant has what is called, I got it written down on my notes here, urushiol. The oil in poison ivy is in the entire plant, and it persists in the wintertime. So if you're picking up branches of poison ivy that don't have the leaves, you think you're safe, or even the leaves that are now dead and dry, they don't look shiny or oily and stuff like that, they still have them inside. If you're picking them up without protection, you're going to get infected. It's going to give you that rash. So that's completely false. Poison ivy, just as dangerous when it's dormant or even dead than it is when it's alive and kicking. So watch out for that. Let's see now. 2 pairs of socks prevent blisters. No. You know what prevents blisters? Having the right pair of socks, 1 pair of socks, the right kind, in combination with the right fit of a shoe. That's what's going to prevent blisters. And sometimes if you're going to be doing lots and lots of miles, nothing's going to prevent blisters. You're going to get some. That's just the way it goes. But 2 socks can actually cause blisters more, because what happens is you get 2 pairs of socks. That could lead to a fold in one of the pairs, which leads to a pressure point, which leads to friction. Friction is what causes blisters. So yeah, 2 pairs of socks. And I'm sure you're going to get those anecdotal people, oh, I wear 2 pairs, I've never had blisters. More than likely it's because you have the right pair of shoes, not because you're wearing 2 pairs of socks. But if you think it's the 2 pair of socks, okay, good for you. You're not getting blisters, that's the key, right? So there it is. But nah, 2 pair of socks, that's not the way to prevent blisters. Preventing blisters is having the right pair of socks, 1 pair, and the correct shoes to wear. And then finally, a big one is, cloudy day, good. That'll prevent sunburn. I don't need sunscreen. That's not true. Cloud cover only blocks at the most about 20% of the sun's UV radiation. 20% tops. That's if you have a lucky dice roll there and it's blocking that much. And that means at the very least 80%, if not more, probably more, is getting through those clouds, beating down on your skin. So wear your sun protection. Sunburn can actually be fairly serious and can also lead to other things. But yeah, wear your sun protection even on a cloudy day, especially if you're at altitude, because the sun's UV radiation can even be more intense in those kinds of things. So those are some of the, I guess, misinformation or little myths that get passed around sometimes by hikers and things like that really need to be kind of squashed out. So pass it on if you can. Any anecdotal stories? Have you ever been told these goofy things? What other kind of myths are out there, do you think? You go ahead and put that, as usual. You can get a hold of me in the comments below. If I post these things on some of the groups in Facebook, go ahead and comment there. At hikingforhealthca@gmail.com, of course, as always. And also, as always, thanks for watching. This is a nice little short one, and I appreciate any of you who watch this goofy little channel. Thanks a lot, and hey, I'll catch you next time.